CCP work around the implementation with Akam of Tanaha Nation and Sauk, and Andrew, my co-host, also works for Sauk. I have the unenviable position of, we have this opportunity to come together and talk today, but it's a little challenging because, of course, we would rather be having a nice extended conversation with everybody, particularly that's the way you want to engage with elders. But given the limits of time, we are going to just kind of try to move through things. Unfortunately, it's only about 2 to 3 minutes wisdom snapshots from our elders and participants so that we can work through these 3 different areas of thinking about past activities and experiences with elders in CCP. And we'll get Paul to maybe start that session. And then we'll do current situation and the way that obviously COVID has impacted engagement, particularly with elders and other vulnerable members in community. And then thinking about what the future hopes are. And as I said, we weren't sure how many people would be in these breakout rooms, but we have a few activities at each of those levels. So maybe we'll also obviously start with the self-introduction. So maybe Andrew, I'll get you to start since you're right beside me here.
Hi everyone, it's Andrew Moore here. I guess I've been working on the CCP for about 12 years, and I'm representing the Sauk Nation here, and I've worked with the elders over all that time with different activities, which is always very enjoyable, and I've got something to say about how to go forward.
Paul, did you want to introduce yourself? You all right?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, everyone. I welcome each and every one of you to this session. I am Paul. I currently have ancestry here, but I'm from the Muslim Jawa Dano. And I'm taking over these comprehensive community planning. I was also the treaty manager for a week, so we're bringing those 2 processes together so that we have socioeconomic certainty in week, in terms of the community. Okay, so that's a brief introduction. I'm currently in the weekend, a beautiful sunny day here. I look forward to further discussion on past activities and current situation and future hopes as we move along in the session. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Paul. Sharean, I see you've joined us. Did you want to?
Yes, I did. I managed to figure it out. I'm from Hopitchesett First Nation in Port Alberni, and I'm just looking forward to the discussions with the panel members here. Too.
You and Sandra.
Yes, Hadi, Sandra Harris from the Laksiliu clan, and I'm calling in from Gitxsan territory, and it's pleased to be here. It's a cold, windy day. The snow is coming down. It's getting closer down the mountain now, so pleased to be here. Thanks
so much, Sandra. So we've got such a wonderful mix of practitioners and elders on this panel. I'm going to try not to talk really at all. And but I think we just thought it might be easiest if we have each of our elders sort of start us off. Paul, did you want to start talking about some of the past experiences that you'd had earlier with CCP and elders engagement?
Certainly. Basically, like I said, I was involved in the treaty making process and still that, and so with the treaty making process, it's community driven in terms of the vision for the future for the week, So and part of what we know that is to know where you come from gives you direction as to where you're going. So we did a lot of what we call treaty-related measures. We had a trip that went to the Museum of Man in Ottawa, and we brought elders and traditional leaders to take a look at the artifacts there. We also did some visits to the UBC Museum of Anthropology, again to look at artifacts, and visit to Victoria Museum in Victoria. And again, we actually had a young lady go to Ottawa and be trained as part of the cultural process so that eventually we will repatriate some of the artifacts back to Wikino, okay? And so, looking at, we certainly had a lot of meetings with the elders and the traditional leaders pre-planning each trip and also debriefing each trip as to what they got out of that, okay? And so we did also community engagement at various locations. One of the challenges that we have is that Wikino is about 290 membership, but only 60 live on reserve, and the others live in Vancouver, Canberra River, Port Hardy, and Bella Bella. And so that's part of the challenge. CPP is spatial as to how do you create a common vision for all of them. Okay, and we've had community engagement in all of the different places doing the CPP planning. And then of course, when you do that, you end up with different priorities with different groups. So it adds to the complexity of our situation. So with that, I'll leave that at the moment, okay?
Thank you. Sharean, did you want to talk about historically what was working well with engaging elders?
I could mention a few things. At present, because of COVID, everything is pretty much at a standstill. I wouldn't mind trying to get us all together again. You know, we can do the protocol for the COVID, but I'm not getting the support I'd like to get. However, we have had several events. We did a youth vision video workshop. That was interesting. We included our youth age 10 to 25. We had a barbecue, mind you, this was a couple years ago, community barbecue workshop or gathering. Chummas and chat and policy meetings. The policy meeting was just to talk about the community planning. And Chummas, for, I believe some of you may know, Chummas means sweet, something good that we're going to eat. And we had the gathering so that the membership could share their ideas, share their vision, and just have fun getting together. So for right now, because of COVID, we're just not doing anything. And I'm very happy to be part of this. And I want to say a quick hello to Paul, Willie. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sharean.
Hello.
Hi.
Sandra, did you want to add anything for a couple minutes?
Sure, yes. So yeah, these are challenging times with the COVID, with the pandemic and limiting our movement. And so we've had to find other ways to reach out to our people. And so in one community, we created a Facebook group following our community planning around elder safety. We started an initiative called We O Mean, We Love You, our elders. And so we have an initiative going. And so the group asked for a Facebook group. So we created a Facebook group and they share, and we're on there, you know, try to be on there weekly. We linked up into the BC Community Response Network around elder abuse and safety. And so we share resources there. There's a little bit of funding to host events. We created a traditional medicine teaching workshops, linking our young people with the elders. And at home here, the Tsakose, the women leaders, women chiefs also wanted to have some kind of a group. So we set up another Facebook Messenger group. And so they keep in touch with each other this way. And so there's always, lots of times it's just social and just saying hello and they're talking with one another. We have group chats. We're doing some work around watershed health. So they're sharing stories about the importance of water. You know, what our Kunga or oral history teaches us. our kinship system. So we listen, we share, we laugh. We don't have food together, sadly, but those are two quick things that we're doing here. We've moved virtually, and the elders love Zoom that we work with. They're really tech savvy. And so they're teaching us how to use Zoom now. So that's pretty cool. So Tabi Masai.
Thank you, Sandra. And Andrew, did you want to talk a bit about what went on in Sauk in the past and what's happening lately?
Well, particularly about what's happening now, because perhaps the most vulnerable group on reserve are the elders. They're particularly concerned about social isolation. They're really cut off from the rest of not only the community, but the wider society too. Because they are so vulnerable, that you have to be so careful about having meetings and getting together. So we do have a stay in touch every month, that we provide a special package, a basket of goodies that go around to all the elders. And then we also ask them how they're all getting on and what they would like. So I think we're going to do an exercise shortly about how we can improve that, but to make sure that everyone's got masks and sanitizers, and we do stay at a distance when we drop in to see the elders. But what I'm most concerned about really is what's happening going forward. So what this pandemic has exposed is that it is the elders and the seniors in our community that are the most vulnerable, with 80% of all deaths due to the virus have been in care homes. And it's looking at the way that our whole society treats seniors and elders. And it's particularly difficult when elders are on reserve and they get to the point where they need to go into a care home. And maybe it's the first time in their lives that they've had to move away from the nation. And at the very moment where they most need their family and friends and community. So this is a real problem for, well, not only the elders, but the whole community when this happens. So we're working on a program that we have funding from the Indigenous Services Canada to look at how to support elders to age in place on reserve so that they can stay connected to the family and friends and community. And what would that mean? And how would, so it's really about preventing having to go into a care home. So I'm going to talk a bit about that later on, but that was one of my, or our major concerns, is looking after the most vulnerable members of our community going forward.
Great, thank you, Andrew. So I'm hoping you can see on my screen here this couple of little engagement activities we hope to do with you. So this is an experiment for us too. So we'll see how this works. There are two ways you can access this poll. It's either menti.com with this code, or to click right on and use that full webpage to take you to it. And I will go to that presentation now and we'll see how it works. And you should be able to answer the question in there. Let's see if it's going to work for us today. Oops. So thinking about pre-COVID, we'd love to, oh, why is voting closed? I don't know what that is all about. Let's see, is anybody able to vote on this? Maybe not. Okay, well, let's try the second one. Because Andrew also discussed the fact that at Sauk they've been providing elders baskets, and we thought it might be a fun activity to think about what would be in your baskets. What do you think elders in your community might want in their basket? So again, if you go to menti.com and then there's this little code you pop in, and then it should provide us a sort of scrolling opportunity to see different ideas. And it should go into a word cloud here. Does anybody have any ideas? Is this working or not working? We can abandon it too if it's not really working, but we just thought we would try to have some more opportunities to chat. Let's see the chat. Or you can also just try it in the chat.
Larissa, I'm seeing on the chat that people are still working on it. They have to just figure it out. Someone said that they're still on question 1.
Right, I saw that. Okay. For some reason, it didn't seem like it was letting me vote, so I don't know. Well, let's.
I can just make a few comments.
Oh, there we go.
If it's okay.
Yeah, of course, please.
Okay. And I think I understand why this is happening. So I need to be a little careful how I choose my words here. I don't live on reserve, but I'm within, I could probably walk to my community hall if I needed to. However, when you're talking about providing baskets for the elders within each community, our community pretty much caters to only on reserve. I'm going to guess there's maybe 5 or 6 elders who do not live on reserve. However, I'm very fortunate. I have a twin sister. She's older than I am, and she shares her basket with me. And it's primarily, bread, eggs, cheese, coffee, soap, and of course, all the requirements, cleansing requirements, because we're in the COVID epidemic. So yeah, I just wanted to share that little bit with you.
Thank you for that. That's a good intervention. And then it also takes us to sort of the next one. There's lots of good ideas popping in here, and maybe we can share this later. Because of course there's the things, like you said, the tangibles that are important, but then there's also the intangibles, right? So thinking about like what would be in a virtual basket as well, right? Let's see here. Let's go to the second slide if we can. So what would be in a virtual basket? You know, everybody's had to be a bit isolated. In a perfect world pre-COVID, you know, we'd be getting together and we'd be exchanging ideas, and we'd be getting the chance to actually spend time with elders and sharing wisdom and stories. But in this virtual world, what would be in your virtual basket?
What is everyone missing?
What is everyone missing? Yeah, exactly, Andrew. This was Andrew's idea for an activity because they've been having like quite good success with some of the different activities. Oh, so there we go. Have that thing pop up there. FaceTime, time to dance together, photos, pictures. Oh, and I see in the chat there's been some comments about other ideas. Homemade cookies. We give meat, wild meat, fish, and cleaning supplies. That's great. Well, let's not mess around with this too much. Let's actually chat a little bit more. So going back to our reflections, did any of the elders have any other thoughts about what the current situation, how else we can move around this current situation? Because obviously technology is a challenge for some elders, but I know in some places, like with ACAM, there has been some really great work done with getting elders access to laptops or tablets and getting a little bit of training done. But what is really missing in a lot of cases are those visits, are those one-to-one pieces that get over the isolation. So I don't know if anybody wanted to jump in there and talk about how everybody's overcoming that with engaging elders.
There's something called friendly visits. You know, that sometimes the local counselors or even the young people volunteer, and they just go around and they phone and talk to people, or they go to their house and they just stand outside and they just do a check-in. And in one of our communities, an elder and a speaker went by and they went around and visited. They do it weekly, and they just do a check-in, and the people just come to the door. Sometimes they're in their jammies and just, you know, we're doing a wellness check-in to see how you're doing. You know, we're thinking about you and we want to see that you're okay. And just to know that, you know, with this pandemic, it is lonely because we're not able to visit. And just to recognize how important it is to reach out, you know, just by phone, sometimes texting. Grannies are pretty good at texting too, you know, and just say, hi, I love you and I miss you. How are you doing? Do you need anything? Yeah. Or share a favorite time when they were together. You know, I remember when we were out at the lake or on the river, or we had a picnic together. Yeah, and I just want you to know that I miss you and I'm thinking of you. And that's so important. And then just to have those weekly check-ins, I find to be so wonderful. And FaceTime is good for this. It's not the same, but it does help. Especially if the elder is alone, okay? If they're just living by themselves. But if they're not living alone, you know, touch is so important right now when we're lonely. And so just to, you know, hug, of course, but if we can't get that close, just to rub on the back. And yourself, to rub your kidneys in your back, just to rub your back, it helps you feel better. Because we're helping move energy in our body. Because when we're alone and we sit, that energy just kind of sits. So it's so important how touch can help us. And of course, we have fur babies, we have animals and cats and other animals, snakes, maybe birds. And they're helpers too. Hey, they're wonderful helpers when we're lonely. They give us comfort and company. Yeah. So there's a few ideas. Masai.
Thank you, Sandra. Paul, did you want to talk about what's been working for you during COVID times? I mean, what's happening in your community?
It's very similar. We had certain people check in with each others, you know, like just a knock on the door, say, how you doing? You know, 30-second visit, you know, or people come outside the door and say, yeah, so we won't talk through the window. Yeah. But also we learned how to use Zoom quite well in terms of family meetings, but we have also adapted how to do a wedding over Zoom, and also ceremonies over Zoom, like coming of age ceremonies and baby naming ceremonies all over Zoom. You know, so it's been, technology has been good from that point of view. Yeah. And so what's been also working is that the community has really pulled together in terms of traditional food and distribution of traditional food. So that's been really good. This year we had a good supply of halibut, you know, so that's been really good from that point of view. Yeah. And also it's the one-on-one visits, one-on-one invites that, you know, people, yeah. So also that they used to have an elders luncheon, but now the elders luncheon, they bring it to your door so you can visit that way. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
That's great. Sharean, did you want to? I know you've mentioned some already, but I thought maybe you have some other ideas, observations. Oh, you're muted. Sorry, though. Oh, you're still muted, Sharon. Nope. One more try. Or well, you can keep trying.
I have to go up the top.
Right.
Basically, what I said earlier, we're just not doing very much the last 8 months since COVID. But I have appreciated receiving our share of our sockeye and our halibut. That's always really nice. And they're doing the best they can. Too.
Thanks. I know with ACAM at Tanaha, I got to go and help out with Wood Day, where they got a huge stack of wood, and there were everybody with chainsaws and splitters, and everybody was out, and they were doing big loads to provide firewood, particularly for the elders and whatnot. So that was pretty exciting. They even had some of the school kids come out and whatnot. That was a lot of fun, and it was a good opportunity for me to do some engagement. So we set up a tent beside the lunch and coffee, and had some chats about housing and some of the other projects we're working on together. So trying to find those little opportunities to chat with people too. Andrew, did you have some other ideas too?
Yeah, so looking down the road, for the next 10 or 20, 30 years, what's life going to be like? Is this pandemic going to keep coming back? And once this is over, then there'll be all the issues around climate change. And so really following up on the name of this conference around the resiliency, how do we ensure that not only the nation's resilient, but the individuals are resilient? And what should we be looking at the way we live and support each other? And so we've got an opportunity, we've got some funding to investigate how we might do things differently, particularly around supporting elders anyway, because they're often very isolated or lonely. So we're looking at ways in which to have common houses where people can all get together. So we've got one project where we have a family looking after seniors, then another project where the seniors are all around a courtyard and they can look after each other, and then with a common house where friends and community can come and support, and even the people like the doctors and nurses can come too. And then we're looking at an even larger project for ACAM out in Cranbrook, where the elders are more integrated with the whole community, but there's a very large common house where, as Paul was talking about, where you can have ceremonies and that it's more integrated. So I think it's worth us all looking at how we're going to manage in the future when we're going to need to be so much more resilient.
And the opportunity there too is all of that knowledge translation, right, and transmission. When elders eventually might have to leave communities they've lived in all their lives, and go into some kind of advanced care rather than hopefully just being supported by community at home, there's a real loss to everybody with that. So also in terms of how their quality of life is in a lot of those places, as Andrew mentioned before, like during COVID, wider societies, elders in care really suffered. And so how do we keep people from having to go into those homes in the first place? And on average, I think we've talked about it, it's about 10 years that elders can stay in their homes if they have a little bit more support. And First Nations really lead the way in providing the example for that. So just thinking about how maybe the built environment, as we start to build new facilities, how that can help that. Did Sharon, Shireen, or Paul, did you want to talk about the future and how we can try to support elders as issues are coming up, climate change and aging?
Okay, we're here in Weekend. We're looking at how do we build, housing that is suitable for elders, And so we're looking at fairly, and how do you build a healthy community? Because part of the challenge is creating infrastructure that not only serves the community, but makes life easier for the elders and easy access, so some of the things that we're looking at you know, like we're looking at housing, certainly one of them, but also making sure that our public offices are accessible to elders and having, you know, them available for meetings and stuff like that. But also creating a healthy environment. Like we have a problem with garbage, and our furry animals come and visit us quite frequently, the bears. But also I had to give this morning a pack of wolves came by this morning, and that was beautiful because I'm from the wolf clan and it's Zawadeno, so it was great. But those things, you know, yeah. So what needs to change? I guess there's something that never really gets talked about, and this might be a controversial statement, but we need to learn how to go back to our traditional knowledge and concept of communicating with each other. Unfortunately, you know, and this is where the controversy comes in. We're trying to deal with our oppression, colonized, deal with colonization from with a colonized thinking, and that is the biggest challenge to our people. How do we uncolonize our thinking? Because that is, you know, and that is part of the challenge of providing good services, that we play the victim too much, you know. So we need to go back to our traditional protocol that we must become masters of our own destiny, you know. And so that kind of teaching, you know, I've been blessed with those teachings, but also, you know, sometimes I think I'm crazy, you know, but that's okay, you know. But I'm a traditionalist from that point of view, and I really do share. And people say, "What do you teach as an elder?" And I say, "I don't teach as an elder. What I do is I engage people to live it. It's not about teaching; it's about living, because that's what impacts people, is delivering it. Rather than, you know, I can teach you things, but how you apply that might be from your point of view, and that's good. And that's, so we can't, you know, and that's always a challenge with family. Hey, how do I, you know, how do I share my experiences with you so that you make your own choice? Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. I think you really captured that, looking back 7 generations so that we can also look forward 7 generations, right? It's that
Yes.
whole continuum of knowledge. Sharean, did you want to say anything about the future?
Well, hopefully we will get back to what we were usually having, island lunches, and we would be going in particular to Duncan and Campbell River, because all we have in Port Alberni is Walmart. That's it. So we look forward to going to Campbell River because they have stores on reserve and also in Duncan. But we do have our lunches in Saanich, in Chemainus, Comox area, and we do have friendly visits, people coming around occasionally, and the elders on reserve do receive their wood for their wood stoves. They are checked on frequently, and once a month they receive a virtual basket, and I think that's just great, and hope to continue until this COVID is finished with.
Too. Thank you so much. Sharean, did you want to add something about the future, Sandra?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
If you have something more, we'd love to hear.
No, I get called Sandra. That's my sister's name.
And that's too funny because I get called Sharon a lot.
That is.
So yeah, so the future, I mean, this is about planning. Hey, what are our needs? What do the elders need? You know, they need their own self-care and balance too. You know, many of our elders are grandparents and they're raising children, grandchildren. So how can we help them? What do they need there? How can we support them in their families? And so we need to ask that question. Hey, how about your home? Is it safe? You know, the stairs, the bathroom, because as we grow older, our health needs change. So what do we need there? And that's part of our housing planning, taking care of elders. They might have mobility issues. Then what can we do to plan for each of these homes? It might be 10 homes, it might be 50 homes. But we need to know that. Hey, are they safe? They're not getting broken into. That was one of the concerns we had in our area with the drugs and alcohol getting more and more pressing. Elders were not feeling safe. So what can we do to help them with safety? The lighting in the yard. You know, taking the bushes away from the house, which is a fire safety matter, but also for people hiding out and unfortunately, you know, assaulting an elder. So, you know, is there a community watch? You know, how are we keeping an eye on each other? That's what we do as neighbors, hey? Yeah, things like that. So a lot of safety pieces and ensuring that they're in a good place, because we love and respect our elders and we want to take care of them as best we can. Masai.
Thanks, Sandra. That's really nice. I'm going to share my screen again and we'll look again at the what landed in the virtual basket. And then we can, there's one last activity where we'd love to hear what everybody else thinks about. So all kinds of things came into that virtual basket. We've got pictures, phone tree, sharing, air hugs, private ceremonies, time to dance, family time, drums, photos, songs, images. So that's all really fun. Like I said, we got one more activity. Oh, there's the actual basket too. We might as well look at that again while it's up. These are things that you could actually be bringing around to elders potentially in your community. There's books, shopping cards, respect, canned fish, banana, candy, beading, warm or art, warm mitts, connection, tea, veggies, mousse, crafty things, salmon, scarves, healthcare, laughter, grandkids, crafting supplies, all great ideas. So in this last one, we'll just try to get an idea about everybody's sort of long-term solutions when we think about all the challenges facing elders. And so again, here's the code so that you can participate in this. And this is more of a scrolling activity. So if you want to just type in a few ideas about long-term solutions that you have in mind when we think about what that might mean. And in the chat box is fine too. We can look at that as well after. So let's see. Oops. And thank you so much for bearing with me as I figure this out too. So again, you want to use that code, go to menti.com and then use it. It's a little code here, 72 36 77 4. And we'll see if anybody can enter that. Is that working for anybody or maybe not? Oh, there we go. Oh, here we go. Now it starts. Always just takes a little time to get these things going and you wonder, is it working? Is it working? So I don't know if everybody can read those. We have safety, well-being, wellness, care, home is safe, they're connected and not isolated. Love and laughter, together with peers, more visits, cultural and language revitalization, grow more speakers for intergenerational conversations in the language, intergenerational, land-based trips, know what they want and get it for them. Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's a great one. I spent some time in Africa and it was really lovely to watch because little kids, it didn't matter if you were related or not. If you got asked to do something by someone older, you jumped. Those little kids just jumped. It was really pretty fun. Making elder care a part of on-reserve education. Don't ever stop. Don't stop ever. Keep going, baby. Baby steps. And, you know, we can open this up too if people have questions. Respect, acknowledgement of their lived histories and mentorship. Yeah, and we're so grateful again that everybody was able to join us today. Of course, there's so much value in hearing from our elders. Let's see, what else have we got? We have a radio station in the Zoom chat, it says, which could be used for broadcasting, offering weekly radio bingo. What a great idea. Let's see. There's some links that are being shared, and we can put those into the Slack channel, which was a great idea. So following up with that, a great resource to developing health and wellness priority for elders. I like how interactive it is and how the outcome is visually displayed. Well, thanks, Lana. It feels a little clumsy on this end, but I'm glad it's working. So again, this is also, you know, as you're doing CCPs, these are some of the tools that you can start to try to use that are a little more engaged. Ask them what they need, opportunities. Oops, let's see. To gather with other community members, ask them to share their stories. Well, why don't I open it up to the elders again, and if you have any other bits of wisdom you'd like to share. I think we only have a few minutes left, but I'd love to have a bit more conversation if it's possible. Oh. Andrew, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
Sure. I think with all the difficulties that we're facing and the issues that are coming up, I think what we sometimes forget is that Indigenous communities look after their elders much better than the wider society. I was reading an article the other day that said, when will the wider society learn to treat seniors the way that Indigenous people do, with respect and reverence? So I think that's something to going forward. If we can just shift the way people, it's so systemic, the way that the ageism, the way that we treat older people. And I think we can all learn a lot from Indigenous communities.
Definitely. Paul, would you like any closing thoughts or?
Yeah, a couple of thoughts. Part of that is more Indigenous protocol. And part of that, what I've been taught is that there's only two things that we need to really address in life. Is first of all, how do we let go of the lessons of fear, because it comes in many forms, and how do we practice unconditional love all the time? And so that's been part of my guiding principles that I live by. How do I let go of the fears? Because fear comes in different forms. Same with fear of failure, fear of not surviving, fear of loneliness, fear of success, and all that. So how do we practice unconditional love to everyone? And this is why our language is very important. So when I say Kela Kesla to you, I welcome you, but I welcome you in your greatness. Right? It's an attitude that I have, that everyone is, if I uplift everyone in their greatness, then there's no room for prejudice and put downs. Thank you.
Thank you. That was lovely. Sharean, did you want to go ahead?
Just to mention, we are very fortunate, whether we are on reserve or off reserve within the Port Alberni area and our outlying First Nations communities under our tribal council, which is the New Channel Tribal Council. We have access to the nurses, and I find them wonderful. They are just a fantastic group of ladies who I phone, and yeah, they come and they assist me if I've got some inquiries. And with regards to future care for me, I'm one of the elders in my community. And when I get with I've only got 2 children, Neen and Art. When I'm with them and say we're shopping and a really cool tune comes on in Walmart, I start to dance. And the both of them look at each other and they say, okay, let's get the forms out. She's going to long-term care. And that's just a joke now, and I enjoy that. Yeah.
Yeah, I always used to tease my parents that they have to be nice to me because I'm going to be picking their old neighbors. Now
Yeah.
they might be living with me, so there's that.
Yeah, my daughter says that to me too.
We have a few other points just that popped up online that were privately. One, Donna was suggesting self-reliance and also multi-generational housing. And I just also wanted to point out, Michelle made a point around making sure their medications are picked up and are taken care of, offer to grocery shop for them. Oh, we've got a couple minutes left to hear from Sandra. Any closing thoughts, and Andrew? So maybe just a minute or two each, and then we'll go back to the main room. Thank you so much. Sandra, did you want to go ahead with any final thoughts? Oh, you're muted. You're muted, Sandra.
Sorry, we had an annual elders gathering, a wellness gathering. And so we had 200 people show up, you know, and the response was amazing. And so we brought the local pharmacist in, and he would talk about drug safety, you know, storing your drugs, how to get rid of your medications, how to help the family understand the different medications that people might be on, because there's a lot of safety concerns around pills, hey? And so making sure everyone was okay with that and having those conversations, supporting our loved ones. And so that was really cool. We also have a traditional medicine piece. We have our own foods, you know, just trying to get the interaction, because there were so many communities coming together, you know, visiting, having music. We would do bingo, of course. And yeah, just, you know, and we would ask, you know, this is what we want to do. What should we do? Like, what do we need to bring in? So we bring in all the resources in the area, so they would be in the hall. And we can still do that virtually. We can still do that. And so we're trying to get that coordinated. You know, here's the people in the community that are helpers. This is what they look like, and this is how to get a hold of them. So, you know, even banking, to make sure elders were safe with their pension and their banking. Here's the person from the bank. You know, if there's concerns around that, this is what we need to do. Yeah. So just day-to-day living and supporting and holding each other up.
Thank you, Sandra. Thanks again. Yeah, that piece too around it being sometimes hard to ask for help. I know that's always a challenge. So it's really about how do we check up on each other, and that's come up time and again, I think. Andrew, do you have any final thoughts?
Just very briefly, just to say that it's so important that Indigenous communities become more resilient, and because I think they have a lot to teach the wider society, and we're all going to need to look to Indigenous communities.
Thank you. And I don't know if there are any other questions from the audience, but if they go in the chat, and you know, we can always forward them along. And again, I just love to raise my hands and thank everybody so much for being here. Oh, Sharean, did you have something else?
I just wanted to ask Sandra very quickly. She talked about the elders gathering. Was that since COVID?
No, that was last year.
Okay.
Yeah, but we might,
Okay.
we're going to see if we can do it virtually. There's still a way for us to do it virtually, just
Okay.
like we are now. Yeah,
Yes.
just like we are. Yeah, this side.
Thank you.
Aichka, OCM. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, lovely to be here, and thank you for sharing. I think we're going to get kicked out in about 10 seconds, so I always hate that when you get cut off. But and thanks again, Allison, and our Angela, our captionist, and thanks again, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your conference.
Yes, name you, Stan.